Do you find yourself unable to overcome your sexual temptations? Maybe it just feels impossible not to give in to them. I believe that you want to break free from your porn addiction, but you can't seem to just avoid the day in and day out temptations. Today, we're going to talk about the 3 things that I've learned on how to overcome your temptation in the moment that it comes. Hello again, friend, and welcome back to Sex Addicted Christian. I'm your guide, Jimmy Trent, and it's really good to be with you guys today. We're here to crush the shame, cultivate community, uncover the unseen, and take action. In today's topic of 3 ways that you can overcome temptation in the moment, we're really focused in on that 4th pillar of the 4 pillars of a porn-free life. That 4th pillar is taking action. And part of you breaking free and finding your freedom from your sex addiction is establishing a good battle plan that you can take action against. In today's episode, we want to address that specific topic. Before we do, though, I know many of you are struggling to break free, and some of you have been watching these videos and not taking the next step of connecting with me in the 4 pillars of a porn-free life. It is a step-by-step checklist guide. Should take you about 4 weeks. Each pillar, pillar 1, week 1, pillar 2, week 2, and so forth and so on. And I want to give that to you as a free gift to help you begin this journey towards freedom. So before we move into the rest of the conversation today, I want you to click the link below in YouTube and Facebook. Go to sexaddictedchristian.com and download the 4 pillars of a porn-free life. My free gift to you. Start working through it. Feel free to email me with any questions. I'm here to serve you and to help you on this journey to freedom from sex addiction. So let's jump right back into our topic today of temptation. And I want to give you 3 things that I've learned on how to avoid or to escape temptation in the moment that it comes. So let's jump right in. The first thing that I want you to do the next time you experience temptation to look at porn or act out sexually is this. Get out of your head and into the light fast. I can't stress this point enough today. The more you allow for this temptation to remain unspoken, the more momentum it gains and the harder it's going to be for you to resist it. So what does it mean to get out of your head and into the light? It's actually really simple. All I want you to do is make a quick phone call to a friend and let that friend know that you're tempted to act out sexually in a sinful way. I promise you, you will be surprised at how helpful this simple step is. I want you to take a look at a short passage with me in 1 John that kind of talks about this idea of living in the light. Listen to what he says in 1 John chapter 1. Picking up in verse 5, he says this, "This is the message we have heard from him and declare to you. God is light. In him there is no darkness at all. If we claim to have fellowship with him and yet walk in the darkness, we lie and do not live out the truth. But if we walk in the light, as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus, his son, purifies us from all sin." I'm not sure where you're watching or listening from today, but in Florida, we have this really scary animal that shows up in just about every house. They only come out at night usually. I don't know if you have these where you're from, but we call them roaches. I grew up in North Carolina, and I thought roaches were only associated with not keeping a clean house, right? Not washing dishes at night, leaving pizza in between the couch cushions, and that's how people get roaches. But in Florida, they just kind of take over the whole state. So we've got to hire these bug men to keep these guys at bay, to keep them from taking over and mutinying in our house. You don't usually see these guys running around during the day. They've hidden themselves in dark places, but at night, once all the lights are out, they kind of come out and begin to roam around. It's actually really creepy. And one of the places that always gets me is the garage. We've got a refrigerator that we keep out in the garage, and every now and then I'll need something later at night, and so I'll walk through the laundry room, open the garage door, click on the light, and man, I'll see a roach scurrying across out of the middle of the garage into something to run under a bike or under a shelf. And it's freaky. Always freaks me out. I'm not over it. I've been in Florida for almost 2 decades now, and I'm still not used to these dang things. I share this with you because this is the way temptation reacts when we turn the light on. I'm telling you, if you will get out of the darkness of your head when you're tempted and into the light by saying something to someone, temptation will often scurry just like these dang roaches in Florida. Okay, number 2, the next time that you face temptation, I want you to do this. Go back to the drawing board. A drawing board, of course, is an architect or a draughtsman's table, which he uses for the preparation of blueprints or designs. This term gained a wider acceptance in our language in World War II when certain battle plans turned out to not be so great, so they had to go back to the drawing board and rework their plan. So my assumption here is that you have a plan, that you are working on some type of plan or working off of some thought to get yourself free from your addiction. So when temptation comes, this is a good opportunity for you to go back to the drawing board to say, hey, do I need to make adjustments in my plan to live porn-free or non-sexually addicted so that I have a better chance at succeeding? So once you've gotten out of your head and into the light, this is a good time to revise your plan. So there's many questions you can ask at this point in the temptation. Are there certain people or things or circumstances that I need to avoid given this specific temptation? Maybe it's being alone at a boyfriend or a girlfriend's house that you need to avoid. Maybe it's a specific coffee shop that you always find yourself lusting after patrons or a specific worker that's there. Maybe it's a bad idea for you to be at the pool or the beach alone. Or maybe it's just as simple as a specific TV show that triggers your sexual lust and temptation. Whatever it is, you need a battle plan to overcome this addiction. And in these moments of temptation, it's a chance to reevaluate that plan to make sure that there are no holes in it that will open up a chance for the enemy to get in and for you to fall back into this temptation. Again, I'll plug the 4 pillars of a porn-free life here for you. If you need help establishing a battle plan, that is the 4th pillar, and that checklist will help you begin to do that. Okay, 3rd thing that you're gonna need to do to overcome your temptation. And this one's gonna sound a little weird, so bear with me for a minute. Worship your way out of it. One of my favorite quotes in the context of addictions in general comes from a book called Redemption by one of my former pastors, Mike Wilkerson. In his book, talking about the nature of our addiction, he says this: you worshiped your way into this mess. Now you are going to worship your way out of it. I love this quote and this truth about worship. I've talked at length about this idea in a previous video. I'll link it up below. Porn is not your problem. So look in the notes if you want to explore this idea further. But for now, let's discuss it in brief. How does your temptations and worship relate together? Well, let's take a look at James chapter 1, starting in verse 13, to get a little better view of how these things work together. Starting in verse 13 of James chapter 1, James writes this: when tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then, after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. Don't be deceived, my dear brothers and sisters. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. Temptation is born on the stage of our circumstances, but it is conceived in the womb of our desires. Let me say that again for the kids in the back. Temptation is born on the stage of our circumstances, but it is conceived in the womb of our desires. So the first thing I want you to see here in this passage from James is that God is not the one tempting you. And 2, we see that we are dragged away by our own evil desire. which leads us through our temptation to its final destination of sin and ultimately death. So desire is the key word in this third point that I'm making in terms of avoiding or overcoming your temptations. What we want most, our desires, is typically what dictates our decisions. So biblically speaking, desires could be restated as worship. And worship is where we place our hopes and fears and expectations, desires, etc. Your temptations come when you look to sexual acting out as the satisfaction or the fulfillment of those things that are connected to your hopes, fears, expectations, or desires. What's happening in the moment of temptation is you're being tempted to worship sex instead of God. And what I mean by worshiping your way out of it is that your worship was aimed at sex, and now we want to aim that worship at God. And in doing so, we're entrusting to Him to be the fulfillment of our hopes, to protect us from our fears, to be a part of helping us to understand and for our expectations to be met, for our desires to be satisfied in God. James clearly sees this in the passage that we just read when he gives a warning and an invitation in verses 16 and 17. Listen to how he ends this thought. Don't be deceived, he says, by your temptations, we might say, my dear brothers and sisters. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like the shifting shadows we might put in there our sexual brokenness. So, to make this final point clear, you and I need to worship God and not sex as a way to overcome our temptations. Brother, sister, I want you to win this war against sexual brokenness, porn addiction. I want you to have freedom. In these moments of temptation, you can overcome. God has promised that to you, that He'll give you a way out of these temptations. So in review, I'm sharing with you 3 things that have really helped me. 1, get out of your head and into the light fast. 2, when tempted, it's a good moment to go back to the drawing board and revisit your plan to freedom. And 3rd, and maybe the most important, worship your way out of the mess. So I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below on YouTube or Facebook, or email me at jimmy@sexaddictedchristian.com. What's been most helpful for you in overcoming temptation? Or which of these 3 things has been most helpful for you? Or which of these do you need to work on more? I want to get some feedback from you guys on what you are seeing in your own lives that's helping you to overcome your sexual addiction and find the freedom that you're looking for. As always, guys, I'm here to help you. I want to serve you. So if you've yet to take advantage of my free checklist guide, The 4 Pillars of a Porn-Free Life, I want you to download it. Go to the link below on YouTube or Facebook, sexaddictedchristian.com. You can grab it there. It's a free checklist guide, bullet point by bullet point, 4 pillars: crushing the shame, cultivating community, uncovering the unseen, and building an action plan. It's my gift to you to help you achieve the freedom that God wants for you and you desperately desire. So before you do anything else today, follow the link and grab that. I love you guys. I'm praying for you. I'm with you in this journey towards freedom. I wish you the best, and I can't wait to see you again next week. Until then, God bless.